Let's dive into a problem that every developer deep down really hopes to have. What do you do when your app gets too popular? Today, we're going to break down that critical fork in the road you hit when your servers just can't keep up with your success. Just imagine it for a second. Your app goes viral. Users are flocking to it, millions of them, but your poor single server is practically melting. This is that moment, right? Success suddenly becomes this massive technical hurdle, and the decisions you make right here, right now, are absolutely crucial. So here's our game plan. We're going to look at the two main ways you can scale, either making one server a whole lot bigger or just adding more servers to the mix. We'll put them head to head, help you figure out which is right for you, and get this, even look at how you can do both. Look, as your app gets bigger, it just needs more horsepower. Simple as that. And this leads to a fundamental choice between two very, very different strategies for handling all that new demand. First step, we've got what's called vertical scaling, or scaling up. The easiest way to think about this is like turning your server into a superhero. Just one single, incredibly powerful machine that's built to handle anything you throw at it. The main idea here is that we're not adding more machines. Nope. We're taking the one we already have and just making it bigger, faster, and stronger by giving it a serious hardware upgrade. And how do we actually do that? Well, it usually means beefing up three key things: dropping in a more powerful CPU, adding more RAM so it can juggle more tasks at once, or swapping in faster, bigger storage. It's basically a hardware transplant for your server. Now, the big appeal here is simplicity. It's just easier. Since everything is running on one machine, you don't have those communication delays between servers. Plus, and this is a big one, you often don't need to change a single line of your application's code. But, and this is a big but, there are some serious drawbacks. For one, you're eventually gonna hit a wall, a hardware limit you just can't get past. Also, if that one super server goes down, your entire application goes down with it. Oh, and those high-end upgrades, they get really, really expensive fast. So what's the alternative? Well, instead of relying on one superhero, you build a team. This is horizontal scaling, or scaling out, where you spread the workload across a whole bunch of machines. So instead of making one server more powerful, you just add more servers to the team. Then you have something called a load balancer that acts like a traffic cop, directing all the incoming requests to whichever server has some free time, spreading the work out nice and even. The upside here is massive. You can scale almost infinitely just by adding more machines. If one server decides to take a nap, the others just pick up the slack, which makes your system incredibly tough. And the best part? You can use cheaper, off-the-shelf hardware to do it. But, managing a team is always more complicated than managing one person. You have to start thinking about things like how you're going to balance the load, how to keep your data consistent across all those machines, and dealing with those little communication delays. And yeah, this often means you'll have to go back and tweak your application's code. Okay, so the lone powerhouse versus the coordinated team. Let's put them right next to each other and really see what the trade-offs are. And here it is, the core dilemma. Scaling up is simple, but it's limited, and it's kind of risky. Scaling out is almost infinitely powerful and resilient, but boy, is it a lot more complex to set up and manage. It's that classic trade-off, right? Simplicity versus power. So how in the world do you actually choose? Well, it all comes down to asking the right questions about your specific project. First, money. What's your budget, both for today and for the long haul? Second, what does your app actually need more of? A faster brain or more memory? Third, be honest. Can your team and your architecture actually handle a more complex distributed system? And finally, how much growth are you really expecting? A little trickle or a massive flood? Let's make it simple. If you've got a smaller app or an old system that's a pain to change, or you need crazy low latency, scaling up is probably your best bet. But if you're growing like a weed, need to be online 24/7, or you're already using a modern setup like microservices, well then scaling out is the pretty clear winner. But hold on, here's the real secret that you might not expect. It is rarely an either-or situation. The most robust, powerful systems in the world don't pick one. They actually use both. Yeah, that's right. By combining both approaches, you can build a system that's both incredibly powerful and super resilient. You really can get the best of both worlds. So, for example, you could scale up your one server until you just can't anymore and then start scaling out. Or you could build a whole team of servers where each individual member of that team is a vertically scaled powerhouse. Even databases do this with a technique called sharding, where they split data across multiple powerful servers. So in the end, there's just no single right answer. It's a strategic choice, and it's based entirely on your app's specific needs, your budget, and exactly how important it is for you to stay online no matter what. And that really leaves us with one final big question to think about. When you make this choice, you're not just putting out today's fire, you're laying the foundation for your entire future. So the question is, are you just building for today, or are you truly engineering for tomorrow?